The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metal city among the stars. Nexus Prime was the most important place in the galaxy. Every major alien race had representatives here. The station was home to the Galactic Council that ruled over hundreds of worlds and billions of beings. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho stood at the viewing port of the human transport ship. His reflection stared back at him in the thick glass. Behind him, 3 other humans prepared for what could be the most important meeting in human history. Colonel Park Subin checked her military dress uniform one last time. She was the security advisor for this mission. Her job was to protect the ambassador and understand alien military capabilities. She had studied every known alien weapon and ship design for the past 2 years. Dr. Lee Da-yoon organized her data tablets containing information about hundreds of alien species. As the team's xenobiologist, she knew more about alien life forms than almost any human alive. Her research would help them understand the cultural differences they were about to face. Choi Min-ho tested his translation equipment. The communications specialist had learned basic phrases in 12 different alien languages. His devices could translate most known alien speech patterns into human language and back again. The transport ship docked with Nexus Prime with a soft thud. Tae-ho took a deep breath. Earth had been trying to join the Galactic Council for 5 years. First contact with aliens had happened only 10 years ago, when a damaged alien ship crashed on Mars. The surviving crew members had been peaceful and willing to share basic technology. Since then, humanity had learned to build faster-than-light engines and basic energy shields. But they were still newcomers to a galaxy that had been connected by trade and politics for thousands of years. The airlock opened with a hiss. Tae-ho led his team into the station. The first thing that hit them was the smell. Hundreds of different alien species lived and worked here. Each one brought their own scents and atmospheric needs. The station's life support systems mixed everything together into a complex mixture of odors. The hallways were huge. They had to accommodate beings that were much larger than humans. Some aliens floated through the air using anti-gravity devices. Others walked on multiple legs or slithered across the floor. The diversity was overwhelming. A tall, thin alien approached them. Its skin was purple and seemed to shimmer in the artificial light. It had 4 arms and large black eyes that reminded Tae-ho of an insect. "I am Guide Kexval," the alien said through a translation device attached to its throat. "I will take you to the council chamber. Follow me and do not touch anything." The guide led them through corridors lined with artwork from dozens of worlds. Sculptures made of living crystal pulsed with inner light. Paintings seemed to move and change as they watched. Music from alien instruments filled the air with sounds no human ear had ever heard before. They passed groups of aliens conducting business. Some were clearly merchants selling goods from distant worlds. Others appeared to be diplomats like themselves, wearing elaborate clothing that marked their rank and species. The council chamber was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into shadows high above. 12 massive seats were arranged in a circle. Each seat was designed for a different type of alien body. Some were filled with liquid for aquatic species. Others generated magnetic fields for beings made of living metal. Only 7 of the 12 seats were occupied today. Tae-ho recognized most of the species from his briefings. The largest seat held a Veltarian. These aliens ruled the most powerful empire in the galaxy. They looked somewhat like humans but were much taller and had skin that changed color based on their emotions. The Veltarian's skin was currently a deep red color. This meant either anger or contempt. Neither was a good sign for the humans. "So, these are the new primitives," the Veltarian said. Its voice was deep and carried easily across the chamber. "I am Council Prime Veltar Nexus. You may speak your request." Tae-ho stepped forward. He had practiced this speech for months. "Honored council members, I am Ambassador Kim Tae-ho representing the planet Earth and humanity. We come seeking membership in the Galactic Council and the opportunity to trade and learn from our galactic neighbors." A being made of what looked like living gas spoke next. Its voice sounded like wind through caves. "The Nebulon Collective has observed your species. You have been space-capable for only 10 years. Most council members required centuries to prove their worthiness. Dr. Lee Da-un whispered something to Tae-ho. He nodded and spoke again. We understand we are newcomers, but humanity has shown rapid technological advancement and strong peaceful intentions. In 10 years, we have built a fleet of exploration vessels and established colonies on 4 worlds. We have encountered other species and always chosen diplomacy over conflict. A crystalline being that looked like it was carved from diamond spoke, in a voice like breaking glass. Your species shows promise but also concerning tendencies. Our intelligence reports indicate you still have wars among your own kind. Colonel Park Soo-bin stepped forward. That is true, but we have also achieved unprecedented global cooperation to reach for the stars. The Earth Defense Force represents all nations and peoples of our world working together. The Veltarian's skin darkened to a deeper red. Your military organization concerns us. Species that think in terms of defense forces and weapons often prove troublesome to galactic peace. Tae-ho felt the meeting slipping away from them. We created the Defense Force to protect our colonies and trade routes. We have never used our military against another species. Our ships carry weapons only for defense against pirates and asteroids. Nevertheless, Veltar Nexus said, the Council has concerns about admitting such a young and potentially violent species. We require all new members to accept biological compliance protocols. These ensure that dangerous species cannot threaten galactic security. Choi Min-ho's translation device struggled with the term biological compliance protocols. When the meaning became clear, Tae-ho's face hardened. Are you asking us to accept genetic modifications that would make us less capable of independent action? We prefer to think of it as ensuring peaceful coexistence, the gas being replied. That is completely unacceptable, Tae-ho said firmly. Humanity will never accept forced biological modification. We are willing to sign treaties, accept monitoring, or provide guarantees of peaceful behavior, but we will not allow our species to be artificially altered. The chamber fell silent. The crystalline being's body pulsed with different colors. The aquatic species in the liquid-filled seat released bubbles that might have been laughter or contempt. Veltar Nexus stood up. His massive form towered over the humans. Then this council has no choice but to reject Earth's application for membership. You may leave. We will find our own path among the stars, Tae-ho said quietly. Humanity does not need the Council's permission to exist and grow. The words hung in the air like a challenge. The alien representatives looked at each other with expressions the humans could not read. But something had changed in the chamber. The mood had shifted from dismissal to something more dangerous. As the humans left the chamber, none of them knew they were walking into a trap that would change the galaxy forever. 3 days had passed since the failed meeting with the Galactic Council. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho and his team remained on Nexus Prime in the diplomatic quarters assigned to visiting species. They were preparing to return to Earth when everything changed. Tae-ho was reviewing his report when alarms began sounding throughout the station. The lights in their quarters switched from normal white to the red emergency lighting. Choi Min-ho quickly activated his communication equipment to find out what was happening. Sir, I am picking up emergency broadcasts in multiple alien languages, Min-ho reported. Something about an attack on a research station. Dr. Lee Da-un looked up from her biological samples. What kind of attack? Pirates? Rebels? Before anyone could answer, the door to their quarters burst open. 6 heavily armed Veltarian guards entered with their weapons raised. The lead guard was wearing the black armor of the Council Security Force. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho, you and your team are under arrest by order of the Galactic Council, the guard announced. Colonel Park Soo-bin immediately stepped forward. On what charges? We have diplomatic immunity. That immunity has been revoked. You are charged with crimes against galactic peace and the murder of 17 researchers. Tae-ho stood slowly, keeping his hands visible. What researchers? We have been on this station for 3 days. We have not left our quarters except for the council meeting. The guard leader activated a holographic display device. Images appeared. in the air showing what looked like human ships attacking a space station. Explosions lit up the darkness as the station was destroyed. The footage was grainy but appeared to show Earth Defense Force markings on the attacking vessels. The Veltarian Research Station Keth-7 was attacked yesterday by human military vessels. All 17 scientists aboard were killed. This footage was recovered from an automated probe. Dr. Lee Da-yoon studied the images carefully. Those ship designs are wrong. The proportions are not correct for our vessels, and our ships do not carry those types of weapons. Are you suggesting this evidence is false? The guard leader asked. I am saying it does not match any human technology I know about, Da-yoon replied. Tae-ho remained calm despite the situation. We demand to speak with our government. We also request a proper investigation of this evidence. The council has already voted on this matter. There will be a trial tomorrow. You will be provided with a legal representative. The guards forced the humans to surrender all their equipment and personal items. They were then escorted through the station to a detention area. The other aliens they passed looked at them with expressions ranging from fear to anger. The detention cells were designed to hold many different types of alien prisoners. The walls could be adjusted for different atmospheric needs. The humans were placed in a cell with Earth-normal air and gravity. This is clearly a setup, Colonel Park Soo-bin said once they were alone. Someone wants to make humans look like aggressors. But why? Min-ho asked. What do they gain by framing us? Tae-ho sat on one of the simple beds. Think about what happened. In the council chamber, we refused to accept their control. We said we would find our own path. That makes us a threat to their system. The next morning, the trial began in the same chamber where they had sought membership just days before. The proceedings were unlike any human legal system. There was no jury, only the council members acting as judges. The evidence was presented, without allowing the humans to examine it properly. A new alien served as prosecutor. It belonged to a species called the Krex that looked like giant insects. Its voice clicked and buzzed as it spoke. The evidence is clear, the prosecutor declared. Human vessels attacked and destroyed a peaceful research station. The defendants were the only human representatives in this sector. They must have coordinated this attack. The legal representative assigned to defend the humans was a small mouse-like alien that seemed terrified of the council members. It barely spoke during the entire trial. Do the defendants wish to make a statement before judgment? Council Prime, Veltar Nexus asked. Tae-ho stood up. This trial is a mockery of justice. You have not properly examined the evidence. You have not investigated other possibilities. You have already decided our guilt before hearing our defense. You dare to question the wisdom of this council? The crystalline being asked. I question any system that condemns beings without a fair trial. We came here seeking friendship and cooperation. We have been met with deception and false accusations. The aquatic alien in the liquid-filled seat released a stream of bubbles. Through the translator, its words came out as laughter. The primitives think they deserve the same treatment as civilized species. We are not primitives, Colonel Park Soo-bin said angrily. We are a proud species that has achieved great things in a short time. And that pride will be your downfall, Veltar Nexus replied. This council finds all defendants guilty of crimes against galactic peace. The sentence is death. Dr. Lee Da-eun gasped. Death? For something we did not do? The sentence will be carried out publicly as a warning to other species that might consider similar actions, the insect prosecutor announced. Tae-ho remained standing. Before you murder us, I want to say something that will be recorded and transmitted to Earth. You may speak, Veltar Nexus said with obvious amusement. Tae-ho looked directly at the recording devices he knew were capturing everything. We came in peace seeking friendship. You have shown us that peace is not what the galaxy understands. Remember this moment, Council. Humanity remembers everything. The guards moved to take the humans away, but Tae-ho continued speaking. Earth will know what happened here. They will know that their ambassadors were murdered after being falsely accused. The galaxy will learn what humanity does to those who harm innocent people. Empty threats from a dead man, Veltar Nexus said. The execution chamber was a large room with transparent walls that allowed the event to be broadcast across the galaxy. Representatives from many species gathered to watch. Some seemed sad about what was happening. Others appeared excited to see the proud humans brought low. The execution method was designed to be quick and supposedly painless. Energy weapons would disintegrate the prisoners instantly. Each human was placed in a separate containment field. Taeho looked at his three companions. Colonel Park Subin stood at attention like a soldier facing an honorable death. Dr. Lee Da-eun held her head high, refusing to show fear. Choi Min-ho was quietly praying in Korean. "Any final words?" the executioner asked. "Tell Earth that we died with honor," Taeho said. "Tell them that we never stopped believing in humanity's future among the stars." The energy weapons fired. 4 bright flashes filled the chamber. When the light faded, the human delegation was gone. Across the galaxy, the execution was broadcast to billions of beings. The message was clear. This is what happens to species that refuse to submit to the Council's authority. But the Council had made one critical mistake. They assumed that humanity would react like other species that had been intimidated into submission. They expected Earth to send messages begging for mercy and promising to accept any terms the Council demanded. Instead, all human diplomatic channels went completely silent. On Earth, President Han Ji-woo watched the execution broadcast with her entire cabinet. When it ended, she spoke only 4 words that would echo across the galaxy: "Prepare for total war." The emergency meeting room deep beneath the Earth Defense Force headquarters was filled with tension. President Han Ji-woo sat at the head of a long table surrounded by the most powerful people on Earth. The execution of Ambassador Kim Tae-ho and his team had been broadcast across human space only hours before. Fleet Admiral Song Kyung-ho stood before a massive holographic display showing the known galaxy. Red dots marked Galactic Council territories. Blue dots showed human colonies and outposts. The difference in numbers was overwhelming. "Give me the full assessment," President Han said quietly. "The Galactic Council controls 156 inhabited star systems," Admiral Song began. "They have 847 major military installations and 2,340 active patrol fleets. Their combined military forces include approximately 50,000 warships of various classes." Defense Minister Kim Bo-ra leaned forward. "And our forces? We have 127 warships total. 38 of those are exploration vessels with minimal combat capability. We have 12 military bases outside of Earth's solar system." General Kang Do-hyun shook his head. "The numbers are impossible. They outnumber us by more than 300 to 1. "Numbers are not everything," said a new voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to look at Dr. Yoon Hye-jin. She was the head of Earth's Advanced Weapons Division. Most people in the room had never seen her before. Her projects were so secret that even the president only received basic reports about her work. "Dr. Yoon, please explain," President Han said. The scientist walked to the holographic display and activated a new set of images. Strange-looking weapons and ship designs appeared in the air. "For the past 8 years, since we first learned about the Galactic Council, we have been preparing for this possibility," Dr. Yoon said. "We knew that humanity might one day face enemies with superior numbers and older technology." She pointed to the first image. "This is the quantum disruptor cannon. It can tear apart the atomic bonds in any known alien hull material. One hit from this weapon will destroy ships that would normally require dozens of conventional strikes." The next image showed sleek fighter craft that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Phase shift fighters can move partially out of normal space-time. Enemy weapons cannot lock onto them properly. They appear to be in one location, while actually being somewhere else entirely. Admiral Song studied the designs carefully. "How many of these weapons do we have?" "Every human warship built in the last 3 years has been equipped with quantum disruptors. We have 200 phase shift fighters ready for deployment. But these are not our most powerful weapons." Dr. Yoon activated another image. This one showed a device that looked like a small star contained in a metal shell. "We call this the solar flare device. It can cause a sun to release massive energy bursts that will sterilize entire solar systems." We have built 12 of these devices. The room fell silent. Several people looked uncomfortable with the idea of such destructive power. Planet killer weapons, General Kang whispered. We prefer to think of them as final option devices, Dr. Yoon replied. They ensure that if humanity falls, we will not fall alone. President Han stood up slowly. How long have you been building these weapons without full government approval? Since the day we learned that the galaxy was ruled by beings who execute diplomats for refusing to submit, Dr. Yoon answered. Some of us believed this day would come. Director Nam So-young of Earth Intelligence spoke next. Dr. Yoon's weapons are impressive, but we have other advantages as well. For the past 5 years, my agents have been infiltrating alien communications networks and building relationships with oppressed species throughout Council space. She activated her own set of displays. The Galactic Council is not as united as they appear. 47 member species are unhappy with Veltarian dominance. 23 species have active resistance movements. The Council rules through fear, not loyalty. Admiral Song looked at the intelligence data. Are you saying we have potential allies? The aquatic deep current clans have already offered to provide safe harbors for our ships. The Nebulan Collective is secretly sharing star charts and patrol schedules. Even some Krex colonies are willing to help us in exchange for protection from Veltarian oppression. General Kang Do-hyun leaned back in his chair. So we are not facing the entire galaxy. We are facing a corrupt government that many species want to see fall. Exactly, Director Nam replied. The Council made a mistake when they executed our diplomats publicly. Many species saw it as proof that the Council will kill anyone who refuses to submit completely. President Han walked to the window that looked out over the city. Millions of people were going about their daily lives, unaware that their government was planning the largest military operation in human history. What are you recommending? She asked. Operation Final Dawn, Admiral Song said. Not just a military response, but the complete systematic dismantling of Galactic Council power. We do not simply want revenge for our murdered diplomats. We want to free the galaxy from tyranny. Dr. Yoon stepped forward. Our analysis shows that the Council's power comes from 3 sources: military force, economic control, and information dominance. We can attack all 3 simultaneously. Explain the plan, President Han ordered. Phase 1 involves cyber warfare, Director Nam said. We infiltrate their communication networks and military databases. We expose their crimes to the galaxy and coordinate with resistance movements. Phase 2 is targeted strikes against their infrastructure, Admiral Song continued. We do not attack civilian populations. Instead, we destroy trade routes, communication relays, and resource extraction facilities. We make it impossible for them to maintain control over their territory. Phase 3 is direct military action, General Kang added. We use our advanced weapons to destroy their military capabilities while protecting species that support us. President Han turned back to face the room. And if they surrender? We establish a new galactic government based on true equality, Dr. Yoon said. One where no species can dominate others and where diplomats are never murdered for speaking truth. The risks are enormous, Defense Minister Kim warned. If we fail, humanity could be wiped out completely. If we do nothing, humanity will be enslaved or destroyed anyway, Admiral Song replied. The Council has shown us that they will never accept our independence. President Han sat back down at the head of the table. How long do we need to prepare? 6 months for full deployment of our new weapon systems, Dr. Yoon said. 3 months for intelligence networks to be fully activated, Director Nam added. Our fleets can be ready in 4 months, Admiral Song concluded. Then we have our timeline, President Han declared. Operation Final Dawn begins in 6 months, Dr. Yoon. I want regular reports on weapon readiness. Director Nam, expand your networks as quickly as possible. Admiral Song, begin moving our fleets into position. She looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. The Galactic Council expects us to beg for mercy. They think we will surrender rather than face their superior numbers. They are about to learn that humanity does not forgive the murder of innocents. General Kang stood up. What about the other human colonies? Should we warn them? All colonies are being secretly reinforced with our new weapons, Admiral Song said. But they will continue normal operations until we are ready to strike. We cannot give the Council any warning of what is coming. One more thing, President Han said as the meeting ended. This operation will be dedicated to the memory of Ambassador Kim Tae-ho, Colonel Park Soo-bin, Dr. Lee Da-yoon, and Choi Min-ho. They died believing in a better future for humanity among the stars. We will make that future a reality. As the leaders left the room, none of them spoke about their doubts or fears. But each one knew that they were about to change the galaxy forever. The question was whether humanity would survive to see the results. 6 months later, the first human strike force would jump into hyperspace and begin the war that would reshape galactic civilization. 6 months had passed since the execution of the human diplomatic team. The Galactic Council had settled into their normal routine, believing that the threat from Earth had passed. Council Prime Veltar Nexus was reviewing trade reports when the first attack began. The warning came from a Veltarian patrol fleet at the edge of the Keth system. Captain Zor Kane had been monitoring routine shipping lanes when his sensors detected something impossible. "Sir, we have 17 unknown ships approaching at high speed," his sensor officer reported. "Identification?" Captain Zor Kane asked. "The computer cannot identify the ship designs. They appear to be using some form of stealth technology. Probably smugglers using modified hulls. Prepare to intercept and search their cargo." The Veltarian ships moved to block the unknown vessels. As they got closer, the alien captain could see that these ships were unlike anything in the Council database. They were sleek and dark, with no obvious weapons ports or engine exhausts. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Zor Kane of the Galactic Council Patrol Force. You are ordered to stop and prepare for inspection." The response came in perfect Veltarian language, but with an accent that sounded somehow familiar. "This is Captain Oh Jin-woo of the Earth Defense Force. We are here to deliver justice for the murder of our diplomats." Before the Veltarian captain could respond, the human ships opened fire. But these were not the crude energy weapons that Council intelligence had reported. Beams of pure destruction tore through the Veltarian shields as if they were not there. Captain Zor Kane watched in horror as his flagship was cut in half by a single shot. The last thing he saw was the name painted on the lead human ship, Tae-ho's Vengeance. Similar attacks were happening simultaneously across 17 different star systems. The humans were not making random strikes. They were targeting specific Council installations with surgical precision. At the Veltarian stronghold of Keth Prime, the most heavily defended world in Council space, Admiral Morthek received urgent reports from across the sector. "Sir, we have confirmed attacks on Keth 7, Keth 12, and Keth 15. All orbital defense platforms have been destroyed. The human fleets are systematically eliminating our military infrastructure." "How many human ships are we facing?" Admiral Morthek demanded. "Intelligence estimates suggest fewer than 100 ships total, but they are using weapons technology we have never seen before." The Admiral looked at his tactical display. Keth Prime was protected by 200 warships and 50 orbital defense stations. No force of 100 ships should be able to threaten such defenses. "Sir, we have new contacts approaching Keth Prime," the sensor officer announced. 37 human vessels emerging from hyperspace. "All ships, prepare for battle. Show these primitives what happens when they challenge the Galactic Council." The human fleet was led by a massive ship that dwarfed even the largest Veltarian battleships. Its hull was covered in strange patterns that seemed to bend light around them. As the Council fleet moved to engage, the humans demonstrated their true capabilities. The first wave of human fighters seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Veltarian targeting computers could not maintain locks on ships that appeared to be in multiple locations at once. Phase shift technology allowed the human pilots to attack from angles that should have been impossible. Commander Lim Ara led the Special Forces assault on Keth Prime's primary data center. Her team used the same phase shift technology to infiltrate the heavily guarded facility. They walked through walls as if they were not there and appeared behind enemy guards without warning. "Data extraction complete," she reported to Captain Oh Jin-woo. "We have downloaded their entire military database and communication archives." "Excellent work, Commander. Begin broadcasting the files on all frequencies." What the humans had discovered in the Council's secret files was worse than anyone had imagined. For centuries, the Galactic Council had been exploiting member species, stealing resources, and murdering anyone who opposed them. The execution of the human diplomats was just the latest in a long list of crimes. As the stolen data spread across the galaxy, public opinion began to turn against the Council. Species that had been silent for generations started to speak out. The Nebulon Collective formally withdrew from the Council. The aquatic deep current clans declared their independence. Even some Veltarian colonies began to rebel. The humans were not conquering territory or enslaving populations. Instead, they were destroying the infrastructure that allowed the Council to maintain control. Trade routes were severed when human ships destroyed the relay stations that enabled faster-than-light communication. Resource extraction facilities were reduced to scrap metal by quantum disruptor weapons. Fleet Admiral Song Kyung-ho coordinated the campaign from the bridge of the flagship New Earth. His strategy was becoming clear to Council leaders who had survived the initial attacks. This was not a war of conquest. It was a systematic dismantling of everything that gave the Council power. "Sir, we are receiving surrender offers from 12 Council member species," his communications officer reported. "Accept their surrenders and provide them with protection," Admiral Song replied. "Any species that renounces the Council and agrees to our terms will be spared further attack." The terms were simple. Renounce the Galactic Council, release all political prisoners, and agree to participate in a new galactic government based on equality and justice. Most species found these terms much more reasonable than the Council's demands for submission and tribute. On Nexus Prime, the Council's main station, panic was spreading. Council Prime Veltar Nexus called an emergency session to address the crisis. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said the humans had only 127 ships. How are they attacking 17 systems simultaneously?" The insect-like Krex prosecutor that had condemned the human diplomats was now trembling with fear. "Perhaps we underestimated their capabilities. Perhaps we should have accepted their original offer of peaceful cooperation." "It is too late for that now," Veltar Nexus replied. "They have made their choice. We must make ours." But the Council's choices were becoming very limited. Half of their member species had already withdrawn or been destroyed. Their military forces were being eliminated faster than they could respond. Their communication networks were compromised by human cyber warfare. Director Nam So-young's intelligence operatives had spent months infiltrating every aspect of Council operations. They had agents in communication centers, military bases, and government facilities. When the shooting started, these agents activated virus programs that crashed computer systems and broadcast human propaganda to billions of beings. The message was always the same. The Galactic Council had murdered innocent diplomats. Humanity was fighting to free the galaxy from tyranny. Any species that wanted peace could have it by simply renouncing the Council and agreeing to fair treatment of all sentient beings. As the war entered its second month, the Council controlled less than half of their original territory. Their remaining forces were concentrated around heavily defended core worlds. But even these strongholds were falling to human assault forces, equipped with weapons that seemed to ignore conventional defenses. The quantum disruptor cannons could tear apart any known hull material. The phase shift fighters could attack from impossible angles. The solar flare devices remained unused, but their mere existence kept Council forces away from systems where humans had deployed them. Most importantly, the humans were winning the war for public opinion. The stolen Council files had revealed centuries of oppression and murder. Species across the galaxy were rising up against their Council overlords. The humans had allies everywhere. Admiral Song received a priority message from Earth while his fleet was preparing to attack another Council stronghold. "Sir, President Han Ji-woo sends her congratulations on our progress. She also wants to know if you think the Council is ready to discuss surrender terms." Admiral Song looked at his tactical display. The Council still had significant military forces, but they were scattered and demoralized. More importantly, they had lost the support of their own people. Send a message to Council Prime Veltar Nexus, he ordered. Tell him that humanity is willing to discuss terms for ending this conflict, but the terms will be unconditional surrender and the establishment of a new galactic government. The message was sent using the Council's own communication networks, which were now controlled by human hackers. Every being in Council space would hear humanity's offer of mercy. The question was whether the Council would accept it or choose to fight until the bitter end. 2 years had passed since the execution of Ambassador Kim Tae-ho and his team. The war that followed had changed the galaxy forever. Now Fleet Commander Park Hae-jin stood on the bridge of the massive human flagship New Earth as it approached, the coordinates where everything had begun. Nexus Prime hung in space ahead of them, but it was no longer the symbol of Council power it had once been. Half the station showed damage from battles fought months ago. Many sections were dark and empty. The once mighty headquarters of the Galactic Council had become a shadow of its former self. Sir, we have confirmation that Council Prime Veltar Nexus is still aboard the station, the communications officer reported. He is requesting permission to surrender. Commander Park looked at the tactical display. The human fleet surrounding Nexus Prime was the largest ever assembled. Over 300 ships filled the space around the station. But they were not alone. Ships from dozens of allied species had joined them for this final moment. The aquatic deep current clans had sent their beautiful crystal ships that moved like living creatures through space. The Nebulon Collective contributed their ghostly vessels that seemed to be made of captured starlight. Even some former Council species had ships in the Liberation Fleet. Open a channel to President Han Ji-woo on Earth, Commander Park ordered. The holographic image of Earth's president appeared on the bridge. Behind her stood the leaders who had planned this war from the beginning. Admiral Song Kyung-ho, Dr. Yoon Hye-jin, Director Nam So-young, and General Kang Do-hyun were all present for this historic moment. Madam President, Nexus Prime is secure. Council Prime Veltar Nexus wishes to surrender. What are your orders? President Han's face showed no emotion. Bring him aboard your ship. I want to speak with him personally. An hour later, the former ruler of the galaxy was escorted onto the bridge of the New Earth. Veltar Nexus looked nothing like the proud being who had condemned the human diplomats 2 years ago. His once magnificent robes were torn and dirty. His skin had lost the vibrant colors that marked Veltarian nobility. I am here to surrender unconditionally, he said in a voice barely above a whisper. President Han's holographic image studied him carefully. Do you remember Ambassador Kim Tae-ho? Yes, I remember. Do you remember what you said when you condemned him to death? Veltar Nexus closed his eyes. I said that primitives who refuse to submit must face the consequences. And now you stand here as a prisoner on a primitive human ship, surrounded by a primitive human fleet that destroyed your empire. What do you think Ambassador Tae-ho would say about that? The former Council Prime had no answer. President Han continued. You had a choice 2 years ago. Peace or war, cooperation or domination. You chose to murder our diplomats rather than treat us as equals. Now you face the consequences of that choice. What will you do with me? Veltar Nexus asked. That depends on you. The new galactic government will need to decide how to handle war criminals. But first, you will help us contact every remaining Council loyalist and order them to surrender. And if I refuse? Commander Park stepped forward. Then you will be exiled to a remote system with basic supplies and left to survive on your own. We do not execute prisoners, but we also do not reward those who murder diplomats. The process of accepting the surrender took 3 days. Scattered Council forces across the galaxy received orders to lay down their weapons. Most complied immediately. A few chose to fight to the end and were destroyed by human forces that no longer showed any mercy to those who refused reasonable terms. Dr. Seo Young-min had survived the war by being on Earth when the diplomatic team was executed. She had been Ambassador Tae-ho's closest aide and had helped plan the diplomatic mission that ended in tragedy. Now she stood in the same chamber where her friends had been condemned to death. The chamber had been completely rebuilt. Instead of 12 seats arranged to show the dominance of certain species, there were now 89 equal seats arranged in concentric circles. Each seat was designed for a different species, but all were at the same level. No one sat higher than anyone else. The first session of the Galactic Federation will now begin, Dr. Seo announced. She had been elected as the first speaker of the Federation by unanimous vote of all member species. The transformation had been remarkable. In just 2 years, humanity had not only defeated the Galactic Council, but had convinced 89 different species to join a new government based on equality and mutual respect. The Federation Charter guaranteed protection for smaller species and harsh penalties for any attempt to dominate others. Director Hwang Mi-kyung of the new Galactic Peacekeeping Force addressed the assembled representatives. She wore the uniform of the Federation, which combined elements from dozens of different species' military traditions. The Federation Charter has been signed by all member species, she announced. Today we establish a new era of galactic civilization based on the principles that Ambassador Kim Tae-ho died defending. The principles were simple but revolutionary. All sentient species were equal regardless of their technology level or military power. Diplomats could never be harmed for representing their people's interests. Trade would be conducted fairly with protection for developing species. Military force could only be used for defense and peacekeeping. President Han Ji-woo arrived at Nexus Prime for the dedication ceremony. The old council station had been completely rebuilt and renamed. It was now called Kim Tae-ho Memorial Station, in honor of the human ambassador whose death had sparked the liberation of the galaxy. Ambassador Tae-ho believed in peaceful coexistence between species. President Han said to the assembled crowd. His death taught us that sometimes peace must be defended with strength. Never again will diplomats be murdered for speaking truth to power. The ceremony included representatives from species that had never been allowed to participate in the old council. Small colonies that had been exploited for centuries now had the same voice as major empires. Former slaves sat beside their former masters as equals. But the most moving moment came when a group of young beings from dozens of different species performed together. Human children sang alongside alien youngsters in a harmony that would have been impossible under the old system. 8-year-old Kim Da-bin from Earth stood next to Zeph Young from the Nebulan Collective and Crick Small from a Krex colony world. They sang a song that had been written for this moment, with lyrics in every major galactic language. We are the children of the stars. Different worlds, different skies, but one dream of peace. We remember those who died, so we could live free. We promise to build a galaxy where no one stands alone. The audience included many veterans of the war. Admiral Song Kyung-ho wiped tears from his eyes as he watched the children perform. General Kang Do-hyun stood at attention as if reviewing troops. Dr. Yoon Hye-jin smiled for the first time since the war began. Director Nam So-young watched from the back of the ceremony. Her intelligence networks had become the foundation for the Federation's early warning system. Never again would one species be able to secretly build the kind of oppressive system that the Council had created. The final moment of the ceremony came when Dr. Seo Young-min activated the memorial display. Holographic images of Ambassador Kim Tae-ho, Colonel Park Soo-bin, Dr. Lee Da-yoon, and Choi Min-ho appeared in the center of the chamber. These 4 humans died because they refused to accept that might makes right, she said. They believed that all species could work together as equals. Today we prove that they were right. As the ceremony ended, representatives from 89 species returned to their worlds carrying copies of the Federation Charter. Each world would now govern itself according to its own traditions, while participating in a galactic community that protected everyone's rights. The old Galactic Council had ruled through fear and oppression. The new Federation would grow through cooperation and mutual support. It was not a perfect system, but it was built on the foundation that Ambassador Tae-ho had died defending. In the months that followed, the galaxy began to heal from centuries of Council oppression. Trade flourished between species that had never been allowed to interact freely. Scientific discoveries were shared instead of hoarded. Art and culture flowed across star systems without restriction. Children who had grown up under the Council's Rule learned for the first time that there were alternatives to domination and submission. Peace was not just the absence of war, but the presence of justice and equality. And on Earth, in a small garden behind the Global Defense Headquarters, 4 trees grew in honor of the diplomats who had died to make it all possible. Their names were carved in stone beneath the trees: Kim Tae-ho, Park Soo-bin, Lee Da-yoon, and Choi Min-ho. The plaque beneath their names carried a simple message. They came in peace. They died with honor. They live forever in the freedom of the galaxy. The galaxy they had dreamed of was finally real.